internet keeps telling women what to do with their careers, and I am so over it, and I wanted to talk about it because I think it can be so dangerous when we start thinking about how we make decisions about our careers based on trends and what social media is telling us. My name's Taz. I'm a woman. I'm brown. I grew up in Birmingham. I was raised by a single mum on free school meals. I've spent the last few years navigating corporate exec life. And what I've learned over the years is there is a set of corporate rules nobody is saying out loud. And that's why I created this podcast. This space is for us to unpack those rules and to help you figure out how you want to navigate the system and engage with it. I would love for you to follow on Office Real Talk on Instagram or TikTok and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, so we can get more of us listening and winning in the corporate world. Hi everybody, welcome to today's episode of Office Real Talk with Taz. Today's a little bit different, and I don't normally cover topics like this, but it's been really grating on me, so I want to get into it. I want to talk about the internet, and I want to talk about the fact that it is constantly telling us what to do when it comes to our careers and how we should live our lives. And the reason I wanted to talk about this so passionately is as I've been kind of ramping up my efforts on Office Real Talk, I've gone onto TikTok. I am constantly bombarded with quit corporate. And I'm constantly bombarded with, you've been trying to climb the corporate ladder and there's nothing at the end of it. I'm constantly bombarded with, if you're a millennial woman, or if you're between the age of 30 and 45 or whatever, you should quit your career and you should go and build a portfolio career and all of these things. And that's all great. But then I'm also told, girl boss is brilliant. We should all be a girl boss and we're celebrating those. And then I'm told, no, girl boss is toxic. We shouldn't be a girl boss. We should all quit our careers and, do content creation and portfolio careers. And then I'm told, well, girl boss is back, because the minute girl boss kind of trend went off, trad wives came in. Now, if you're thinking, what the hell am I talking about? In a nutshell, basically, the internet keeps telling women what to do with their careers. And I am so over it, and I wanted to talk about it because I think it can be so dangerous when we start thinking about how we make decisions about our careers based on trends and what social media is telling us. And it can also start creating issues and uncertainty in you when you don't know where to go or where to look. So that's why I wanted to lean into that today. So let's get going. So the internet is constantly changing its expectations for women. And I think what I'm finding is it's going between kind of soft life to toxic kind of work in the corporate world. And it swings in between these extremes. And the truth is, life lives in the nuance. Life lives in the grey. Our careers live in nuance and grey. And the internet is showing us these two extremes that are really, really not making sense to me in the way that they are pitched. And the truth is, I'm feeling exhausted by it. And I think women are exhausted by trying to keep up. Not only do we have to keep up with how we look, how much we weigh, what we wear, we're being told how to behave in our careers as well now. And I'm not here for it, and it's exhausting. And I think what the internet keeps doing is swinging between these two extremes and calling it empowerment. And I think it's the opposite. So the way up seems to be corporate versus entrepreneurship. Corporate is hard. The system is a bitch. The system is difficult to navigate. The system is unequal. It's unfair. We know that. I talk about that. If you've been listening to me for a while, if you've been following me for a while, yes, I know that. And I talk about the fact that the system needs to change, but I also talk about how we need to show up in it. Entrepreneurship is hard. Talk to people who are entrepreneurs. It's hard. Starting your own business is hard. Trying to find income is hard. Not knowing where money is going to come from is hard. Paying invoices is hard. The possibilities are endless in both, but there are also limitations in both. So when the internet tells us to skip one for the other, all I'm saying is that's ridiculous, because you have to choose your hard. I'm here doing both. I work in the corporate world as an exec, and I'm here starting Office Real Talk and trying to run something outside of work. Both are hard in different ways. You have to choose your hard. So don't let the internet convince you that one is better than the other, because both come with their challenges. The internet also keeps convincing us that we should just leave our job. Do the thing that scares you the most. What would, future you thank you for? What did I see the other day? It was something that basically said, like, how long are you going to keep waiting to build the life you want? And that really resonates with me, right? Because for me, that's pushing myself. But I saw someone post it around, keep getting these messages to quit corporate. Are you okay? You can't just quit like that. I know so many people who say to me, I wish I could quit. I'm like, have you got a mortgage? Have you got rent to pay? Have you got bills to pay? You can't just quit like that. Yes, go all in and back yourself 100%. But don't just quit on a whim because the internet told you to do that. So I'm going to tell you something about me. I quit a job once without having another job to go to. And I quit it because the environment, the culture, what I was seeing, the leadership behaviors, all of that was not for me. And I would do that 100 times over if I need to. But I wouldn't just quit on a whim. The conditions I used to quit were, I didn't have another job to go to and I was totally okay with that. I had fuck you money saved up. So I had money saved up that would cover me for 5 or 6 months. I also managed to negotiate with the company the bonus that they hadn't paid me and 3 months salary because I wanted to quit at that moment. If you don't know how to do those things, if you can't negotiate, if you don't have fuck you money, what are you going to do when you quit? Where are you going? If you haven't started entrepreneurship, if you haven't started making any money from it, what are you banking on? Most of us have responsibilities. Most of us have bills to pay, and you can't just quit like that. You need a plan. So if you do want to quit, if you are sucked in by that, if you do think corporate's not forever, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that I'm gonna work the next 20 years in corporate. I don't know that. Life is long. The average career is 42 years long. I think I read the other day on LinkedIn. 42 years. Do you want to do that in the same way? Maybe not. But you can't just buy into that narrative of quit now, take a chance, 100% back yourself. That's what I'm doing. I'm backing myself by doing something. But you can't just quit on a whim. And leaving a job without having another job to go to is brave. It's scary as hell. And after a while, I was sitting there going, yep, I've got money to support myself, but am I enjoying myself? Now, I use that as a time to kind of rest, find myself. And it's actually when I started Office Real Talk, because I realized what I wanted to do. And it's also when I figured out work is what I do. It's not who I am. Let me say that again. Work is what I do. It's not who I am. And I think the reason some of the quitting mentality resonates with so many of us is because we have our emotional identities tied to our jobs. And that is really, really difficult when all we've been told to do is strive to be successful, to do better, to get to the top. Therefore, our validation, our identity, who we are, is all linked to our work. And so you have to ask yourself, if I wasn't doing this job, if this job wasn't here, who would I be? Who am I? That is the work that needs to happen. Not the internet telling you to quit on a whim, because really, who's paying your bills? They're not, and people's opinions don't pay your bills. So I think it's problematic, and we just need to face into that. If you do want to quit, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling like this isn't for you, let me tell you one thing. The skills that you learn in corporate, you absolutely need in business. Communication, stakeholder management, finances, relationship building, learning how to shoot your shot. Like, that is one of the most important things in people I know that have made successful businesses. Pitch writing, storytelling, social media is now a skill. How to use AI to do the admin work and do the thinking work with you, not for you, with you. You need to learn negotiation, resilience, dealing with change, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and strategy, a vision, a roadmap, a plan, a business plan, how money comes in, how money goes out, all of that stuff. Corporate teaches you a lot of that stuff. I know lots of people who are successful in business because they were successful in corporate. Use the skills, learn what you need to and build on them in order to get to where you want to be. I'm not sitting here telling people not to quit, not to go and build what they need to. I am not an advocate for the corporate world. What I am an advocate for, though, is learning skills. What I am an advocate for, though, is not going and doing something because there's a whole movement in social media through virality that tells you to. What I am an advocate for is having a plan. What I am an advocate for is backing yourself to go and do whatever the hell you think it is you want to do, but doing it intentionally. The reality of quitting is that quitting isn't freedom by default. More people return back to corporate than they'd like to admit. And what I've been seeing the last couple of weeks on social media is all of these people who quit corporate to go and do content creation full time and were like, I don't know where my next paycheck's coming from. It's too unreliable salary wise, so I'm going back to corporate. That's why you need a plan. You need savings, you need stability, leverageable skills, you need discipline, and you need that emotional resilience to build. Freedom without a plan becomes panic, and that's what the internet is not teaching you. It's not telling you how to have a plan. It's not telling you how to prevent the panic. All it's doing is selling you the dream of freedom. And you have to be very careful with that, and that's why I'm talking about this. I think it's dangerous. And look, I posted something on my stories the other day that got a few comments from women and men alike. And I posted about the internet promoting trad wife culture. and how I think it's yuck. Now, look, I have nothing against trad wives. I have nothing against stay-at-home moms. I have nothing against people who have 2 kids, 10 kids, 13 kids, whatever you want. The trad wife movement actually is started by lots of women in North America who live on farms and who just have children, and a lot of them are Mormons, right? So it's kind of a whole religious cycle to it as well. But ultimately, the internet is promoting soft life and trad wife. And I love the thought of a soft life, right? I have done everything I can to make my life as soft as possible. But what I think is problematic, in the same way that the internet is telling us to quit our jobs without telling us the nuance of having a plan, having skills, I think it's problematic when the internet is pushing that narrative that I think young girls and young women are seeing. And the only problem I have with that narrative is not having kids, is not about staying at home. It's none of that stuff, because I respect that. I actually respect stay-at-home moms so much because I don't know how they do it. But for me, the problem is when we are promoting that we should not have finances for ourselves and we should rely on men for finances. That is problematic to me. Now, we are all a product of our environments. I bought a house myself before I even entertained getting married or even like engaged or anything to my husband. I wanted my own financial independence. I have my own house. I have my own assets. I have my own money. I have all of that. Now, I know that's not easy for everyone, right? It wasn't easy for me either. I built it. But what I'm saying is, if all of your finances are linked to a man, if you are completely dependent on someone, I think teaching that that is the route to go in life and promoting that is really difficult, because life is sudden, life is unexpected. It takes one argument, it takes one change in decision, it takes one affair, it takes someone dying for you to have nothing. And in the same way I talk about fuck you money getting you out of a career, you might need fuck you money to get you out of a relationship. We are promoting so many different ideals for women that I think can be problematic, and they all live in the nuance. So absolutely be a stay-at-home mom, but have a bit of your money. So if you need it and if things change, you've got you. Because in all of this, having a plan is really important. And look, there'll be lots of people that differ. And there was a whole conversation in my DMs with a guy who was just like, I think it's my job to provide for women, etc. And I'm like, good for you. Like, I have no issue with other people's choices. All I'm saying is the internet can be a problematic space because it's selling these extremes. And I think that life lives in the nuance. I think the reason so many women are resonating with quitting corporate is because of burnout. And so I just wanted to finish this episode off by talking about burnout. The corporate world and the burnout that comes from it is not just about the work or the workload. I think so many of us have had times in our careers where we go, up and down, and we're like, oh, the workload is a lot, or like it's relentless, or the work is hard. But actually, once you kind of ride out the wave and you learn new skills, you get to a point where actually it's not the work, it's everything that's around the work. It's the office politics, it's the stakeholder management, it's the perception management, it's the way that the system is designed with, who gets to the top, who doesn't. It's the constant feeling like you need to jump through hoops to get on. It's feeling like you're working your ass off. You can't do any more. How much more can you possibly do? And you're still not getting what you deserve. That is the tax that is exhausting. That is what's causing burnout. That is why so many of us are tired of the corporate world. That is literally why I feel burnt out often. When I know that burnout is coming, it's all of those things around me. It's not the work. It's not delivering the project. It's not delivering the change. It's not putting the new thing live. It's not doing the things with my team. It's all the things that sit around that I just find exhausting and draining. And it's the stuff nobody teaches you. It's the stuff that is hard to navigate. And it's the stuff that drains you and really challenges your resilience. It's the stuff you carry home that you can't switch off from, that plays in your brain, that is constant. And unfortunately, it's what the corporate world is. Most people aren't burnt out by the work. They're burnt out by the experience of corporate. And that's what we're trying to escape most of the time when we think that there's a different route. I think the other thing, the identity thing that I talked about, is so real. When work is such a core part of who you are, when it's your identity, when it's how people talk about you. I don't know many people who don't introduce me by my job. Most people, if they talked about me to someone else, would talk about what I do. I'm hoping over time that changes and people talk about office real talk or something else, but they would normally talk about my success in the corporate world. So much of who we are and our identity and our validation comes from our work. And so when you're not getting what you need, when you're not getting seen, when you're not getting ahead, and that validation, that identity is threatened, that is also exhausting. And we also want the promise of, I don't want my identity to be attached to this. I want my identity to be attached to something else. Therefore, I'm going to build something else. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you? I'm doing it. So many people are doing it. Why wouldn't you? Because we are so much more than our work. But what I've learned is in those moments when it's burnout, when it's identity, when it's figuring out what's going on for you, managing yourself is the real work. to wrap up, what I want to say is whatever the internet is trying to sell you, whether it's soft life, quit corporate, be a girl boss, don't be a girl boss, those extremes are always going to be there. The internet is always telling women what to do. You don't have to buy into that. Do what's right for you. But ask yourself, am I burnt out from the work or am I burnt out from the system? If you're burnt out from the system, what can I do to help myself? How do I create an identity that is completely not attached to my work? How do I create something more for me? And most importantly, if I want to do something different, if I think there's a different life for me, if I think there's a world where you want both like me or you want to move from one to the other, do it on your terms, do it on nuance, do it on intention. Take the skills from corporate, but have a plan. Remember, no plan is not freedom, it's panic. And you need to avoid that. Make your choices, be intentional with them, do them on your terms, do it with leverage, do it with nuance, but zoom out, because the internet is always going to be selling us another ideal, and we don't need to buy into that. We need to buy into ourselves and our own plans. I hope you've enjoyed that episode. It's something I really, really wanted to address and I felt passionate about and I felt really aggravated by on the internet recently. I'd love to hear your comments. Leave a comment on the podcast, message me in my DMs, engage with me on socials. As ever, thank you for listening. And if you're not following on Spotify, give me a follow. And if you'd like to learn more about unsticking your career, tune in to the masterclass as well. Tickets are available in my bio.